Hey run junkies, welcome to Runners Without Limits TV, and we all know about carb loading, right? Yeah, it's the idea that before a race we load up so we can, go faster, run longer? Actually, what does carb loading do? And how do we carb load the right way? Let's get into that today, shall we? First, I would like to dispel a couple of myths surrounding carb loading, and I think we've all done this to one degree or another. You have a 5K race on Saturday morning, so on Friday night you hit the Olive Garden and the all-you-can-eat pasta bowl. This, sorry to say, is not the way to carb load. The timing isn't right. The shorter races don't really need it, and pasta isn't the only thing we can go after. So what does carb loading actually do? Let's answer that question real quick. Well, done properly across several days before a race, it tops off the glycogen tank. This is the fast burning fuel your muscles use during running. When your fuel tank is all the way full, you will likely be able to run longer before you hit the wall, if you hit the wall at all. Now, this is an important distinction. You will run longer before hitting the wall likely, but probably not so much faster. But what is the wall? Well, you've likely heard of it, but it's the point at which your body starts running out of glycogen for fuel and starts burning fat, except fat is much harder to convert as a fuel source. That's why your legs start feeling heavy and your brain starts to fog. Carb loading is useful when your runs and races start popping up over 90 minutes. Let's not talk about distance, but minutes. So remember our example. We don't need to carb load so much for 5Ks or 10Ks. We just don't burn through the fuel stores we have on hand. Also, going back to our examples, bread and pasta are fine, but there are a wide variety of carbohydrate options available. My personal favorites are rice and especially potatoes. I find those to be better sources over something doused in olive oil pasta options, right? Other ideas? Tortillas, bagels, waffles, pancakes, oatmeal, juices, even yogurt might help you top off the glycogen tank. Now, fruits also have carbohydrates. They're good, but apples are high in fiber, which could cause some GI problems during a race. Bananas, though, perfect carb loading fuel. So now that we know what will work, how do we actually carb load? Well, in our earlier story, one meal the night before is probably too little too late. Thinking about carb loading a few days to a week out, if you're tapering properly, you are not running a whole lot, so your body can start storing up the fuel for race day. If you look at your nutrition in terms of calories or macros, then you can start shifting them to take on more carbohydrates. Not eating more overall, just shifting the ratio to a higher percentage of carbohydrates for a while. Remember, this is to help you perform on race day, not a permanent change. 2 to 3 days before, especially if you have a marathon distance, most of your intake should be carbohydrates. But then, the night before, don't overdo it. On the morning of your race for breakfast, top off the tank one more time with about 150 calories 3 hours before the start. And you should have enough fuel in your system to help you perform well on race day. The bottom line is that carb loading is a thing, but maybe not in the way we might be used to thinking of it. Putting these practices into play before a big race will help you run long. But that is how you carb load the right way. What do you think? I'd love to hear about your carb loading practices, so please leave thoughts, questions, comments, and suggestions for future videos in the comment section down below. Please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, thank you for watching. Remember, you have no limits. Happy running.